Let's move on now to the Philadelphia Eagles in our 2023 NFL Draft Review. But before we get into that, if you have not already, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell to get notified when we create new content. Ryan and I, we have a goal of getting to 2,000 subscribers by the start of the NFL season. So if you like Eagles content, like NFC East content, or just content about all the other teams going on in the NFL with training camp, preseason, be sure to subscribe, ring that bell to get notified, help us reach our goal. It's the easiest way to help us out. And Ryan, let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
I'll say now, spoiler alert, we've done grades on every single one of the teams so far. Well, up to this point, and this is the 24th video that we're doing. And the Eagles are my favorite draft. They are the only A+ that I gave. Mm-hmm. And I mean, let's Rich keep getting richer. I mean, let's just go straight into it. I mean, the fact that you look at how great this defensive line was, and then you got Jalen Carter, and if there's anyone that like no one truly knows the guy, it's all media speculation. But like, if there is true that are some off the field concerns, I couldn't imagine a better culture to go into. Not only then to learn behind Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, but then your buddy Jordan Davis is right there. Now you got Nolan Smith to also go along with you. You've got Keely Ringo as well, and the Kobe Dean was also there. And now you have DeAndre Swift. It's like, and it was in talking when Mel Kiper and company on TV were talking to Harry Roseman, and they were talking about Jalen Carter, and his response just like, they're all from Athens. They all immediately get to know, one another and are immediately comfortable with one another. That is that culture. And on top of that, with the veteran experience, and you have Jason Kelsey, who is arguably team captain of the NFL. It's like, so it just, I couldn't imagine a more perfect culture for him to go into if what they are saying might be true. And on top of that, it's like, no one's doubting that he's probably the best prospect talent-wise on the field in this class. And you got to have 9th overall. It's absolutely insane. They are thanking the Saints for wanting Chris Olave so much so that they can have Jalen Carter here.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you look at like what they lost this offseason. So Javon Hargrave was probably their biggest loss. And then Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I think, was probably their second biggest loss. And then what do? They go out and they basically get a Javon Hargrave clone who can come in and replace his production in year one in Jalen Carter, if obviously those off the field things can kind of resolve themselves. And some of his off the field stuff is already resolved. But some of those, I guess, minor character concerns can resolve themselves, and he can come in and be a productive contributing player. You immediately get that replacement at pick 9. And then I think, in my opinion, even a better value pick. And I had Nolan Smith as a potential top 10 pick on my board. But to get him here at 30, I think it's just absolutely insane.
Well, he's such a freak athlete, and then you put him on the opposite side of Hassan Reddick or Brandon Graham, and then couple that then with how great the interior of this offensive line, defensive line, it is like going to be fun to watch. It is going to be fun to watch both of these guys develop and just absolutely eat this season, because I think they're both going to have good years, just because there's a lot of good pieces around them, right, for them to be successful.
Yeah, no, and I can't imagine a more perfect system. Literally, Nolan Smith's pro comp, I think, is Hassan Reddick. And so he's going to get to go in and learn from the best. And then also, if you look at it, they're going to be on opposite sides of each other. And then you have Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis in the middle.
Yeah. Well, don't forget Fletcher Cox right now also.
Well, true, yeah. But that's a ridiculous front five. And I can't even think to imagine being in this division and you see that this team gets these players in the first round. And then I think you go, one of their biggest holes on offense was that right guard spot that Isaac Seumalo left when he went to Pittsburgh, I think. And Tyler Steen immediately could come in and fill that role. I know they also have Cam Jurgens as well, who can fill that role. So I like that pick as well. And honestly, looking through the rest of their draft, that Tyler Steen pick might be my least favorite pick. but it's still a really solid pick.
Yeah, like that may be an A- pick.
Yeah.
They're surrounded
Exactly.
by a bunch of A and A+ picks,
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I like the Sidney Brown pick. We talked about this with
I love that one a lot.
the Commanders. They took Jartavius Martin in the second round, and we're thinking it's like
Why
it's
that one?
it's our it's our opinion, but we think Sidney Brown was clearly better than and so getting him here I think helps replace the CJ Gardner-Johnson loss. Then continue the Georgia train, the Philly Dogs. Then you get Keely Ringo, and it cost them a third next year, I think, right? Or in 2025. I'm trying to remember the exact details. Worth it. This guy should have been gone in the second or third round anyways. And then he falls all the way to here.
And my thing is you can play him at corner. He doesn't have to play right away because you have Darius Slay and James Bradbury. But if he can't really overcome the lack of lateral movement, the inability to move laterally, I guess, he's going to be a hell of a safety. He's already 6'2", 215. He's already built like it. So I like that pick so much.
Yeah, no, great value. That it's like already up to this point, it is just good, just good picks. All these guys are going to help contribute from the get go, except for Tanner McKee. He will not. He will not. I still actually. I guess if you're maybe trying to invest, then you could trade.
Yeah,
try and build up quarterbacks. This one was interesting, but I will say that being said, though, I did like what we saw from him. But the only thing is he's more just a traditional quarterback. So maybe what I said earlier about the A- pick surrounded by A and A+ picks, I won't really give Tanner McKee a pick because I don't really know how to grade him.
So I really like this pick because I think what he brings to the table, if for some reason Jalen Hurts were to go down, I think he actually has a really high floor. I think he's really accurate with the football. He stands nice and tall in the pocket. And I think he would actually be able to operate a system where he would be more of like the point guard, kind of like the Shanahan-esque systems. I think he would be able to do that actually fairly well. And I actually like it. And I think there were some people that had him as high as like the second or third round.
Some people coming in to the draft, a lot of people had him as the fifth best quarterback. Then Hendon Hooker kind of took that spot, and they still had him at the sixth. So getting him here, and that's fair. And I guess, and I'm not trying to put this lightly, but it's like, to a fair point, Jalen Hurts is really good at doing that, just facilitation. Like he's an accurate thrower. He's consistent, got a smooth throw. I think he can read defenses really well. And so when I say not, for instance, the fact that he can also run the ball really well, I'm just saying Tanner McKee is a pure pocket passer. You're not going to get any of the extra running yardage. Mm-hmm. So, but what I'm saying though is like all the throwing capabilities and being the point guard of what you're talking about, Tanner McKee can do that really well. But he just doesn't run as well. So I guess I'm trying to make sure my point. Leave in the comment if my point came across as what I was trying to hit as come across. I mean it as a compliment, but also not an insult to Jalen Hurts either.
Yeah, I also think it's good business to just invest in quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. The Patriots have done this a couple times. You saw they invested a second in Jimmy Garoppolo. They then were able to flip that for a higher second-round pick a couple years later. And then Jacoby Brissett, they also flipped. He was a fourth-round pick. They flipped him for a third, and then Phil Brissett. Like it's definitely it happens, and I think just investing in that quarterback spot gives you depth at that very important spot, but then you can also flip it later for maybe a potentially higher pick. And then lastly, just to cap off this amazingly valuable draft, Moro Ojomo, the defensive end from Texas, just another fantastic piece. He was probably supposed to go around the fourth round, and they get him all the way down here, pick 249, super late in the seventh. So I think that's another really, really fantastic pick. But let's go ahead and get into our grades here. Tyler kind of already gave his away, but I'm going to go ahead and just say that I gave the Eagles an A+ for this class as well. I only gave out 2 A+ out of all 32 teams, and this class is one of them. I mean, I think we go back and look at it. They have 4 or 5 players that I think could come in and immediately compete for a starting role.
Yeah, I think Ojimo can help contribute. Tanner McKee obviously is not going to compete for a starting role, but Ojimo is the only one where I would maybe put that in question as like you'll be a pure backup and like not really even come in for like certain defensive situations. Everyone else, though, was like, I could see Sidney Brown starting. I could see Tyler Steen starting immediately. Nolan Smith will definitely be rotational with Hassan Reddick, help provide depth, can learn from there. Would not be surprised by the end of the season if he is also getting a lot more snaps across from Hassan Reddick and give Brandon Graham some rest as well if they wanted to attack the passer different ways. Jalen Carter, obviously, immediately it is going to come in, be the starter, be right next to Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, all those guys. Like all those guys are contributing immediately, and so many guys fell to them. Part of it too, I realized, like looking at this draft, is I feel like the Keely Ringo, I like that because like there's a guy we want, we're gonna go get him, and some of it too for this grade to also be like this, they had to get lucky. It's like a lot of teams had to not like Nolan Smith enough to take him. Jalen Carter, obviously. Same thing with Sidney Brown. Same thing with and going back to Keely Ringo. There had to be 103 picks before them where the teams were like, nope, don't want this guy.
Exactly.
For them to get this kind of value consistently all the way down the board.
Yeah, and that to me, I think it's the fact that they got Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, two of the leaders and two of the biggest impact players of the 2021 national championship team.
Yeah.
Is just absolutely crazy to me.
Yeah. And another thing as well, on top of that, and then they signed Rashad Penny last year in free agency, and then the trade with DeAndre Swift. I liked the Moneyball approach, I feel, to when they lose Miles Sanders and the stats that he had. I think he had like 1,200 rushing yards, and I'm sure he had several hundred receiving yards as well. And it's like, we don't need Rashad Penny or DeAndre Swift to single-handedly do that load, but then they're going to just spread that out amongst the two of them. Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. It only cost them, I think that was like a fourth in like 2025, like a 7th-round pick this year,
and then a fourth in 2025, I believe.
And I think DeAndre Swift still has a lot of talent. He is just hurt.
Super injury prone. Yeah,
he's just hurt. So maybe that type of system in Philly where it's a running back by committee, and they can just spread all those yards out amongst the guys that they have, and they're all successful in that system. I just like they are clearly in a win now mode, and they got such good value with honestly without mortgaging their future to go and get it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think looking ahead to 2023 and beyond, they are in such a good place for sustained success. They just signed Jalen Hurts to a contract extension, so they have that quarterback position under wraps for the next 5 years. This offensive line has the youth behind the veteran experience, I think, to maintain success for a long period of time. Yeah. And this defense clearly has the youth behind the veteran experience. You have 5 Georgia players over the last 2 seasons that can come in and play big roles for you. And this Philadelphia team is set up for long-term success.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, that's even, I mean, so between the 2 guys that drafted here, and Keely Ringo, and then let's say all those guys pan out and are consistent starters, and Nakobe Dean as well. That's 4 of the 11 spots, all from just that Georgia defense of these past couple of years that you don't have to worry about now. And then you can go address and focus on areas of more positional needs as veterans retire or move on and stuff like that to then replenish and then just keep drafting from Georgia. That's just what it seems like. Just keep drafting from Georgia.
Everybody keeps giving Howie Roseman so much credit, and I'm like, he's not doing any hard work. He's just going to the best college program and picking all their star players.
Yeah, it's just a minor league. Yeah. They give out scholarships to all these Georgia players, and they're the AAA Philadelphia Eagles. So it's going to be fun. They're still the best team in the NFC. I would need to look at it right now, but it would be hard for me to not then project them to go to the Super Bowl again.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to be so dominant this year. We talked a little bit how they had kind of lost a fair amount in free agency, and I think they've just replaced all of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like, I think someone commented like when we say lost, it's like, yes, this person left. Is not on the team
yeah.
anymore. But then what do they replace him with?
Yeah.
And like the Javon Hargrave one is obviously I think Javon Hargrave right now is better than Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter still has a lot of growth to do, but when Carter reaches his full potential, he's going to be far, if he reaches it, when he reaches it, going to be far and away better than Javon Hargrave. Like, and that's saying something because Javon Hargrave is one of the best defensive tackles in the entire league.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But all in all, I think the future is very bright for the Philadelphia Eagles. But let's go ahead and wrap up their draft recap there. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and leave a comment down below on what you thought of the Philadelphia Eagles draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? If you hate it, I'm sorry. I don't know what you expect from anything else because this is about as good as it gets in terms of draft classes. So,
leave a comment on why you didn't like it, please.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe you're an Alabama fan. But
so.
yeah. But other than that, I think that's going to wrap up this show. So we will see you guys next time.